Welcome back to Meets Wisdom, where we explore the ancient wisdom of Stoic philosophy and apply it to modern life. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a topic that affects many of us deeply: relationships. Before we begin, if you find value in exploring these timeless principles, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of wisdom seekers. Your support helps us continue creating content that matters. Now let's dive in. Today we're examining 8 things men should never do with women through the lens of Stoic philosophy. These aren't just arbitrary rules. They're principles rooted in the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, designed to help you develop stronger, more authentic connections. Number 1, never hide your true self. One of the most damaging things you can do in any relationship is present a false version of yourself. Many men believe they need to project a certain image to be attractive, perhaps appearing more successful, more confident, or more indifferent than they truly are. As Seneca wisely observed, the first step to living wisely is to relinquish self-deception. Think about it this way: if someone falls for a version of you that isn't authentic, they haven't truly fallen for you. They've fallen for an illusion, a carefully constructed facade that you now feel pressured to maintain indefinitely. This creates a prison of your own making. Every day becomes an exhausting performance where you can never truly relax or be yourself. And the cruel irony? The relationship itself becomes meaningless because the connection isn't with the real you. The Stoics emphasize that virtue is the only true good, and honesty is a crucial aspect of virtue. When you present yourself authentically, several powerful things happen. First, you filter out people who wouldn't appreciate the real you anyway, saving both of you wasted time and inevitable disappointment. Second, you create the possibility for genuine connection. The people who are drawn to the authentic you will appreciate you for who you truly are, creating a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Ask yourself, would you rather be loved for who you pretend to be, or would you prefer to be accepted for who you truly are? The Stoics would argue that the latter is not just more fulfilling, but also the only path to genuine happiness in relationships. Have you ever caught yourself pretending to be someone you're not to impress someone? What did it cost you emotionally? Share your experiences in the comments below. Number 2, never prioritize her approval over your principles. Many men fall into the trap of abandoning their values, boundaries, and even long-term goals to win or maintain a woman's approval. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where your sense of worth becomes dependent on another person's validation. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This doesn't mean being rigid or uncompromising in relationships. Rather, it means having core principles that guide your life and decisions, principles you've thoughtfully developed and chosen to live by. When you compromise these principles for approval, several things happen. First, you signal that your values are negotiable, which diminishes respect, both self-respect and the respect others have for you. Second, you create a concerning precedent. Once you've shown that your boundaries can be crossed for approval, those boundaries will likely be tested repeatedly. Third, and perhaps most importantly, you disconnect from your inner compass, the very thing that guides you toward a meaningful, purposeful life. The Stoics believed that living virtuously was the path to eudaimonia, or flourishing. When your actions align with your values, you experience a sense of integrity and inner harmony that no external validation can provide. This doesn't mean never making compromises in relationships. Healthy relationships require flexibility and mutual accommodation. But there's a crucial difference between thoughtful compromise and abandoning your principles for approval. Reflect on this. What principles or values do you hold that you would not compromise, even for someone you deeply care about? Having clarity on these non-negotiables is essential for maintaining your integrity in relationships. If you've ever compromised your values for approval, drop a comment below. What did you learn from that experience? Second, you create the possibility for genuine connection. The people who are drawn to the authentic you will appreciate you for who you truly are, creating a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Ask yourself, would you rather be loved for who you pretend to be, or would you prefer to be accepted for who you truly are? The Stoics would argue that the latter is not just more fulfilling, but also the only path to genuine happiness in relationships. Have you ever caught yourself pretending to be someone you're not to impress someone? What did it cost you emotionally? Share your experiences in the comments below. Number 3, never neglect your purpose for a relationship. Many men make the mistake of putting their life's work, goals, and purpose on hold when they enter a relationship. They gradually abandon their passions, neglect their friendships, and lose sight of their personal mission. Epictetus warned against this. No man is free who is not master of himself. The Stoics understood that having a purpose greater than yourself is not just fulfilling, it's necessary for a well-lived life. Your purpose provides direction, meaning, and a sense of contribution that transcends the inevitable ups and downs of romantic relationships. When you abandon your purpose for a relationship, several problems arise. First, you place an impossible burden on your partner. No single relationship can fulfill all your needs for meaning, accomplishment, and identity. This creates unhealthy dependence and resentment over time. Second, you become less of the person your partner was initially attracted to. The drive, passion, and sense of purpose that made you appealing begin to fade, fundamentally changing the dynamic of the relationship. Third, you lose the self-respect that comes from pursuing what matters to you, creating an inner emptiness that no external relationship can fill. So what does it look like to maintain your purpose while being in a relationship? It means continuing to pursue your meaningful goals and contributions to the world. It means maintaining a healthy balance between your relationship and other important aspects of your life. It means sharing your purpose with your partner, inviting them to understand and even participate in what matters to you. The strongest relationships aren't those where two people abandon everything else to focus solely on each other. Rather, they're partnerships where both individuals maintain their sense of purpose while supporting each other's growth and aspirations. As Seneca said, "He who is making progress in virtue is like a traveler returning home." Your purpose is that home, the center that grounds you regardless of external circumstances, including relationships. Have you ever lost sight of your purpose while in a relationship? How did it affect you? Share your experiences in the comments. Number 4, never manipulate or use deception. In the age of pickup artistry and relationship hacks, manipulation tactics have unfortunately become normalized in dating advice. But Stoic philosophy firmly rejects any approach to relationships based on deception, emotional manipulation, or psychological games. Marcus Aurelius put it clearly, never value the advantages derived from anything involving breach of faith, loss of self-respect, hatred, suspicion, or execration of others. What does manipulation look like in relationships? It can take many forms. Using jealousy tactics to increase attraction, intentionally creating insecurity to maintain control, withholding affection or communication as punishment, employing hot and cold behavior to keep someone off balance, lying about your intentions, feelings, or commitment level. While these tactics might appear to work in the short term, they create relationships built on shifting sand rather than solid bedrock. Any connection formed through manipulation is inherently unstable because it's not grounded in truth or mutual respect. The Stoics prized virtue above all else, and central to virtue is treating others with dignity and fairness. They understood that how we treat others reflects our own character and integrity. Beyond the ethical problems, manipulation is ultimately self-defeating. It creates relationships characterized by distrust, anxiety, and power struggles, rather than genuine connection, mutual growth, and tranquility. Instead, the Stoic approach advocates for honest communication about your intentions and feelings, respecting others' autonomy and right to make informed choices, building connections based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation, treating others with the dignity inherent to all human beings. As Epictetus advised, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. In relationships, what's in your power is how you conduct yourself with integrity, not controlling or manipulating another person's feelings or behaviors. Have you ever experienced manipulation in a relationship? Or have you used these tactics yourself? What were the consequences? Share your thoughts below. Remember to subscribe to Meets Wisdom for more insights like these. Your support means everything to us. Number 5, Never react to emotions without reflection. One of the most powerful Stoic teachings is that we should not be ruled by our immediate emotional reactions. This is particularly valuable in relationships, where emotional triggers and conflicts are inevitable. Epictetus taught, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. Many relationship problems stem from impulsive reactions to emotional triggers. She says something that makes you feel disrespected, and you immediately lash out. She expresses interest in someone else, and you react with jealousy or controlling behavior. She criticizes something you've done, and you become defensive or dismissive. The Stoics advocated for a crucial pause between stimulus and response, a moment of reflection where reason can guide our actions rather than raw emotion. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying your emotions. Rather, it means developing the capacity to experience emotions without being controlled by them. It means asking, is my interpretation of this situation accurate? What principles should guide my response? What response would align with the person I aspire to be? Will my immediate reaction help or harm this relationship? This pause, this moment of reflection, is where wisdom is born. It's where we transcend our automatic programming and access our capacity for reasoned choice. Seneca advised, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Often, our strongest emotional reactions come not from what actually happened, but from our interpretation of what happened. An interpretation that may be distorted by past wounds, insecurities, or misconceptions. By practicing this pause, you develop emotional resilience, the ability to remain steady and principled even when strong emotions arise. This stability creates a secure foundation for your relationships, allowing conflicts to become opportunities for understanding rather than escalation. Can you recall a time when reacting immediately to an emotion damaged a relationship? What might have happened if you had paused for reflection first? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 6, never make her responsible for your happiness. One of the most fundamental Stoic insights is that true happiness comes from within, from our virtues, choices, and perspective, not from external circumstances or other people. Yet many men mistakenly task their partners with making them happy, fulfilled, and emotionally whole. This creates an impossible burden that no relationship can bear. As Epictetus taught, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Your happiness is ultimately your responsibility. It depends on your perspective, the meaning you assign to events, and your own cultivation of virtue and wisdom, all things within your control. When you make someone else responsible for your happiness, several problems arise. First, you create immense pressure on your partner. Every time you're unhappy, she feels like she's failing, creating a cycle of guilt, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. Second, you surrender your power. Your emotional state becomes dependent on another person's actions, words, and choices, things you cannot control. Third, you set yourself up for disappointment. No person, no matter how loving, can consistently fulfill all your emotional needs or heal your inner wounds. The Stoic alternative is to develop inner resources for happiness and fulfillment, resources that remain accessible regardless of relationship status or external circumstances. This might include cultivating meaningful work and purpose, developing supportive friendships and community, practicing gratitude and appreciating simple pleasures, engaging in regular self-reflection and philosophical inquiry, contributing to causes greater than yourself. When you take responsibility for your own happiness, something remarkable happens. Your relationships improve. Free from the impossible burden of making you happy, your partner can simply enjoy connecting with you. You become interdependent rather than codependent, choosing each other from a place of wholeness rather than need. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Have you ever expected someone else to be responsible for your happiness? How did it affect the relationship? Share your experiences in the comments below. If you're finding value in these Stoic principles, please hit that like button. It helps more people discover this ancient wisdom that remains so relevant today. Number 7, never suppress your vulnerability. Out of fear, many men believe that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness, especially in romantic relationships. They hide their uncertainties, struggles, and deeper feelings behind a mask of stoic, with a small detachment or false confidence. But this misunderstands true stoicism. While the Stoics advocated for emotional resilience, they never suggested suppressing or hiding our authentic human experience. Seneca wrote, "The person who has lived life completely finds rest, while one who has something to hide is never at peace." There's a profound difference between controlling your reactions to emotions, Stoic wisdom, and hiding your authentic experience out of fear, insecurity. The former comes from strength, the latter from weakness. True strength isn't the absence of vulnerability. It's having the courage to be seen in your full humanity despite the risks. When you hide your vulnerability, several things happen. First, you create distance in your relationships. Real intimacy requires revealing your true self, including your struggles, fears, and uncertainties. Second, you miss opportunities for genuine support and connection. We connect most deeply through our shared human experience, including our vulnerabilities. Third, you internalize the belief that parts of you are unacceptable or unworthy of love, creating inner fragmentation and psychological strain. What does healthy vulnerability look like from a Stoic perspective? It means acknowledging your emotions without being ruled by them, expressing your authentic feelings and needs clearly, admitting when you're wrong or when you don't know, sharing your fears and uncertainties when appropriate, being honest about your limitations and areas for growth. As Marcus Aurelius advised, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. Often, our fear of showing vulnerability comes from our judgments about what vulnerability means, not from the act itself. By embracing appropriate vulnerability, you not only create deeper connections, but also model emotional honesty for others. You demonstrate that strength doesn't require pretense or emotional suppression. Have you ever been afraid to show vulnerability in a relationship? What held you back? Or if you've experienced the power of appropriate vulnerability, what did it teach you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 8, never confuse attachment with love. Our final principle addresses one of the most common and damaging confusions in relationships: mistaking attachment for love. Epictetus made this crucial distinction. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Attachment is characterized by possessiveness and jealousy, fear of loss and abandonment, dependency for emotional security, conditional acceptance based on having needs met, suffering when separated or rejected. True love, by contrast, includes respecting the other's freedom and autonomy, wishing for their flourishing, even separately from you, supporting their growth and best interests, accepting them as they are, not as you need them to be, finding joy in their happiness and well-being. The Stoics understood that attachment, clinging to people as if they were possessions, creates suffering. Why? Because we cannot control others, and attempting to do so violates both their nature and our own. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You can only lose what you cling to." When we approach relationships with attachment, we set ourselves up for suffering because we're trying to control what is not ours to control: another person's choices, feelings, and presence in our lives. This doesn't mean we shouldn't deeply value our relationships or commit to them. Rather, it means we should love from a place of freedom rather than fear, appreciation rather than possession. The Stoic approach to love involves appreciating the other person as they are, not for how they make you feel, respecting their autonomy and right to self-determination, finding security in your own virtue and wisdom, not in controlling the relationship, accepting the impermanent nature of all things, including relationships, focusing on what you can control, how you love, not how you are loved in return. This approach leads to relationships characterized by mutual freedom, respect, and genuine care, rather than neediness, control, and fear. As Seneca advised, if you wish to be loved, love. Focus on the quality of love you give rather than what you receive, and you'll transform not just your relationships, but your entire experience of love itself. Have you ever confused attachment with love? What helped you recognize the difference? Share your insights in the comments below. Bringing it all together. These 8 principles from Stoic philosophy offer a pathway to more authentic, fulfilling relationships. Relationships based on virtue, wisdom, and genuine connection rather than manipulation, dependency, or fear. To recap what men should never do with women from a Stoic perspective: 1. Never hide your true self. 2. Never prioritize her approval over your principles. 3. Never neglect your purpose for a relationship. 4. Never manipulate or use deception. 5. Never react to emotions without reflection. 6. Never make her responsible for your happiness. 7. Never suppress your vulnerability out of fear. 8. Never confuse attachment with love. The Stoics understood something profound. The quality of our relationships reflects the quality of our character. By focusing on developing virtue within ourselves, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we naturally create the foundation for meaningful connections with others. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. If you found value in these Stoic principles, please support Meets Wisdom by hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and sharing this video with someone who might benefit from this ancient wisdom. In the comments, I'd love to hear which of these principles resonated most with you, or if there are other Stoic teachings you found valuable in your relationships. Until next time, remember that wisdom isn't just about knowledge. It's about living in accordance with nature and virtue. Thank you for joining me on this journey.